This is my second weekly analysis where I go through the latest Breath of the Wild news. This week, an ice cold screenshot, warm concept art, 3 editions of a new player's guide and some Switch details. You're watching Zelda Pod Smashers. It seems that Nintendo will indeed release one screenshot each week, and possibly a piece of concept art, so let's take a look at those first. Did you know they released this screenshot on the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year? Probably no coincidence. Now this is definitely a new area and not Mount Hylia, because I've seen that whole mountain in the E3 footage and this isn't it. This icy mountain on the right seems to be a glacier, a huge body of ice. I once walked on a small glacier in Norway, so this is pretty exciting to me. But then you have to wonder, will we be able to climb this steep slope? It looks very slippery, so that might be a problem. Do we maybe need special gear, like spiked boots? Oh wait, you mean like these? They were there all along, even in the reveal trailer. It also looks like Link wears the same boots in this scene, which could suggest that the desert gets very cold at night, but that's a topic for a future video. Interestingly, when Nintendo revealed this new piece of art, they said, "This concept for Link's cold weather tunic looks nice and warm. He's probably going to want some socks though." So they're acknowledging that the tunic is warm, but the boots are not, and Link should find footgear that's better suited to the environment. So I bet the spiked boots come with warmer trousers, allowing Link to go into colder regions and climb glaciers. Alright, on to the rest of the screenshot. The little shelter doesn't look like it's made by Link, as it's held up by some big boulders. It's probably like the cooking place on the Great Plateau. You can't bring it with you, it's just there. Me and a friend once tried making a campfire on an icy cold mountain, and it was the hardest fire we ever had to make. We already know that in Breath of the Wild, rain can put fires out. With the realistic weather system in place, could icy winds be blowing out the fire if we don't build it under a shelter like this? Now, this snowy grass puzzles me a little bit. Plants don't grow where the ground is always frozen. They need at least a few months per year where it's not freezing. So if this game would be super realistic, it means seasons are in the game. But I really doubt it, and I don't want to get your hopes up. They probably decided to throw in some white grass for variation. Snow can get pretty boring if it's always the same. Then there is one question that I haven't been able to answer yet, and maybe you'll have some ideas. What is this light square on this hill? It's easier to see if I turn up the contrast. Now, if this would be somewhere inside, I would say it's moonlight shining through a window. But here, outside, it's almost like a graphical glitch, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Onto the newly released concept art. It shows the tunic that Link receives from the old man on Mount Hylia, at least in the E3 demo. It reveals a bit of the history of this tunic. Apparently they thought of making it brown at first, then it was blue-green, and for the final version they added some brown decoration. All in all, the earlier concept looks a lot more thrown together and cheaper than the final tunic. I'm not sure if Nintendo was going for this, but the outfit actually reminds me of the blue mail from A Link to the Past, at least the concept art for that tunic. Basically the same idea, even a similar color. Another little Easter egg maybe? Interestingly, the Sheikah slate didn't have the Sheikah eye symbol on it back then. Instead, it had a big blue circle, almost like the scroll wheel of an iPod. The last thing I want to mention about it is I don't really understand why they drew that strap separately. It seems to be the strap around his shoulder. Is something supposed to hang where they drew this circle? Then there was the announcement of a player's guide from Piggyback. I never heard of Piggyback, I only knew Prisma guides, but apparently this time it's Piggyback. Okay. I don't use guides while playing Zelda, and I'm not really interested in this, but I do have to say they all look sweet, especially the one on the left. Usually there are two versions of these guides, a normal and a collector's edition. But I figured out what the text here says. This says collector's edition and this says deluxe edition. So we'll have to find out what the differences are. And who knows, with such a huge game, maybe for the first time in my life I will buy a Zelda guide. Anyway, what interests me about this news is the timing. Everybody's hoping the game will be ready for the launch of the Switch, but there were several rumors that the game would be ready in June or so. And now we're getting more and more Breath of the Wild news, including details about the guides. So I wonder if that says anything about the launch date. We actually talked about the multiple delays with Game Over Jesse. I thought it was a very interesting discussion, so I hope you'll check it out. It should be up within a few days. Then I want to finish up with a bit of information about the Switch, specifically how it works. Eurogamer, who revealed the whole concept of the Switch long before Nintendo showed it to us, now has had their hands on the final specifications. The console will have two different configurations, one for the handheld and one for the docked mode. In docked mode it has prettier graphics and at least a 1080p resolution. In handheld mode it saves energy by lowering the graphics and rendering in 720p. Now, some people were expecting it to be almost as strong as the PlayStation 4, but that was unrealistic. Even the handheld mode alone appears to be stronger than the Wii U, but none of the modes will be close to PS4. If you see the Switch as a handheld, it's a darned impressive machine, probably the biggest technical leap Nintendo has ever made. With the detachable controllers, it can be turned into a standalone multiplayer console. And then if you put it in a dock, the games will be even prettier. Like Jimmy Fallon said, it's 3 consoles in 1 console. These last few days people have been very negative about the Switch's chances with third-party developers, but I think that's a bit too early to say. There are developers on board who have ignored Nintendo for generations. That means they see something in Switch. They probably realized how successful the 3DS was. And now there's a Nintendo handheld coming that can run watered-down versions of their top console games. I have faith in the Switch and I look forward to January 12 or 13. I think it will be a pretty good presentation. That concludes my weekly news analysis. Let me know in the comments below if I missed something or what your crazy theories are about any of the new details. Enjoy your holiday if you have it, and check back in a few days for a new podcast. You've been watching Zelda Pod Smashers.